My name is Tim Sult, and I'm the guitarist for Clutch, and we are currently at Higher Ground in Burlington, Vermont.
Very nice. Now, Vermont's a good market for you guys, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we have great shows here. We've always had good shows up in Vermont, and hopefully tonight will be the same.
Nice.
No one's going to show up tonight.
As usual.
It'll be an awesome show, for sure.
I caught your show in Rochester, which was sold out in this tour. That was a great time.
The good old Montage Music Hall, if I remember correctly, right?
Indeed.
Definitely a fun place to play. And you know what I liked about that crowd the most? They were nice and mellow and well-behaved, just like I like it. A lot of 40-pluses at that show, too, I noticed.
Yeah. A lot of beards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real beards. Not like 2-month beards, but like year-long beards.
It was probably about, 70% beards, and oddly about 80% women at this show. Nah, I'm just kidding.
In Rochester, there's this recessive gene where the women grow beards.
That's what I noticed at the show the other day.
Yeah. The band that you chose to support you guys on these 5 dates, Into Another.
Yep, Into Another was opening up those shows.
I found it a fascinating pairing. I mean, I've never seen Into Another, and I've been a fan of theirs since the mid-90s. So I just wanted to know why you chose them to support you and how that experience went.
Well, our booking agent is friends with those guys, and we've had Underdog out opening for us. I think that was maybe 3 or 4 shows back a few years ago. So he brought up the idea of having Into Another open up, and we were like, cool, let's do it. So, yeah.
Did you get to catch them like any of the shows? Did you watch them play or anything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I thought they sounded great at their New York show. That was pretty amazing. I don't know if you made it out to the Brooklyn show.
No.
Okay. Just the Rochester show.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I noticed that Underdog also has a show coming up in New York as well. So
that's true.
I guess he's doing both at the same time.
I guess any kind of affinity that you may have, or any kind of interest or fascination of any sort that you may have, respect for the underground, for the heavier, underground, like hardcore, like punk, like stoner, which was underground for many years.
Well, I mean, as far as hardcore goes, I can definitely honestly say that the first time I heard hardcore, it totally, completely changed my life, literally. I was playing with some dudes when I was in high school, and it was just a silly cover band, like doing AC/DC and Iron Maiden and just even a Dokken song. And then the bass player had a Minor Threat tape, he had a Circle Jerks tape, and he had the first Suicidal Tendencies album on tape. And I heard those all in one day, and totally changed my life. Just totally changed everything about my life, the way I looked at music, and I think the way I decided to play music from there on out.
What is it about hardcore that's so hard or so difficult for people who don't understand the art form to put their finger on?
I really don't know. I just know that I was at the right age at the right time to be able to get into that music. I really don't know. I understand why most people don't listen to that kind of music. It's not for everybody, obviously. It sounds like a bunch of noise to some people, At least back then, like something like Government Issue or like the super early Discord stuff, I can understand why a lot of people didn't like that kind of music, but for some reason it did really speak to me, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the dudes just looked like normal guys, like normal guys walking around the streets. They didn't dress up like, in leather jackets and had long hair and wore makeup. They were just like regular dudes, and some of them even looked like they were in the jazz band or something like that, but they played the most raging music ever. So that kind of is what attracted me to it, I guess.
Yeah. Basically, regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Playing.
It wasn't about fashion or looking cool on stage. It was just about the music being awesome and touching people in their souls.
Mm-hmm. You managed to put your finger on it. You know, took a little bit of, I guess, internal, you know, deliberation, but we got there. You know.
There we go.
What kind of struggles have you had to go through in recent years? Anything in particular that you know you had to work through and overcome?
Well, honestly, I've had a very lucky life. We started doing this band in 1991, and we started going on tour early on, and we've never looked back. And you know, it really, really, really took a lot of years for us to be able to, you know, be comfortable touring. So, I mean, I really don't have the kind of struggles that other people have in their lives, because I've been fortunate enough to play music since 1991. I quit my job at the end of 1991. I worked at UPS, and that would have been my job if it wasn't for this band. Quite honestly, the only struggles in my life were the extremely long drives that we used to have to do during van tours, but that's easy. That's really nothing to complain about, because we're driving around playing shows all over the country. And those Canadian drives are pretty long, especially in the winter. That could be terrifying. Those are really my only struggles in life. The drive from Vancouver to Edmonton in the wintertime. That's as hard as it gets for me. My life's been pretty easy, quite honestly.
What kind of things have your fans come up to you and you know credited the band's music with having helped them get through?
Well, the other day some guy told me that our music helped him get through his whole alcoholism and drug addiction. He used to live under a bridge. So, honestly, I really don't hear that kind of stuff that much, but I did hear that within the past week. Some guy did say that to me, so... we just try to write music that we like, first and foremost, and we like to go out there and play it, and it seems to touch a lot of people for some reason, and we're just grateful for that. The fact that our music would actually, you know, help somebody through hard times or whatever, is just kind of weird personally to me, because I'm so close to the music, and it's just kind of, you know, it's like me looking at myself in the mirror or something. Like, I'm not going to think it's the most awesome thing ever. But it's amazing that our music has touched people like that, and I'm not quite sure why it has. I guess I have to leave that up to the fans to decide that, because I'm too close to it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, cool.
But we did help at least one person with his drug addiction and alcoholism.
Do you have any kind of perspective on state of affairs today in the U.S. or globally on either a social or political level? Is everything cool in your opinion? Is there anything that's not cool?
We've never really played a country that's, you know, a real third world country. We've never been to South America, actually. Our touring has been limited to Europe, Canada, U.S., Australia, and we went to Japan a couple times. So we've never really been to like third world countries. Quite honestly, the United States is the most third world country that we tour in. You know, other places in the world seem more, you know, cultured and refined. I don't know how to say it. I mean, I'm obviously not ripping on the United States at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying that our touring experience is pretty limited as far as going to places where social injustice actually occurs on a large scale. So I don't know if I can properly comment on something like that.
Okay, I mean, do you feel that there is much or any, for that matter, social injustice, economic you know, imbalance in the U.S., for example? Because
Of course, yeah, it seems like in the U.S. there's definitely more, it's more going towards how it's like in South America or Mexico, where there's super rich people and there's super poor people, and there's not as much in the middle. And it seems to be, you know, kind of going towards that direction in the United States for sure.
who would you hold accountable for that, if anyone?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be anybody. It could just be, I don't know, just the people of the United States, you know? I don't know.
I mean, getting by from day to day, what are some, you know, I guess maybe reflections on how everyday people can work through their struggles and stuff that they're I mean, a lot of people are tight, they're in debt, tough to find work necessarily. I mean,
sure, I mean, I still have the same thing. I don't have enough money to pay my taxes for 2013 right now, so I'm still working on paying my taxes as well. So I'm right there with everybody else too, you know. I make enough money to pay my bills and live and pay for my wife and kids, and sometimes at the end of the year I don't have enough money to pay my taxes. So I think everybody's in the same boat. Not everybody, obviously there's super rich people, and then there's people that are, you know, just doing their thing, regular people. Oh God.
How has being a father and a husband and a family man been for you? How has that experience been for you?
Well, I've been married since 2002, and my wife and I went for a long time without having kids. I didn't have my first kid until I was almost 40 years old. So I think that was probably a good thing for my kids that I didn't have them in the early days of Clutch, because in the early days of Clutch we just drove around in a van and had no money and came home from tour and just hoped to be able to pay our bills. So yeah, luckily, since Clutch has taken control of our career and we're putting out our own music and we're totally independent, I've been, you know, fortunate enough to have 2 kids that are awesome, and I can't imagine doing that in the early days of Clutch whatsoever, because it wouldn't have happened. My kids would have ended up living with my parents or my wife's parents for sure. But
how do you maintain a tight relationship with everyone, being on the road as often as you are?
Well, we do have quite a bit of time at home. Before this tour, we were off for a month, and over the summer and into the fall, we were actually off for 3 months. So we schedule a lot of time at home. That's how we do it.
Very
and
nice.
we're going to have a lot of time at home this year writing new music. So my wife and kids will probably get sick of me.
And then back on the road you go.
Exactly.
Well, a distance makes a heart grow fonder, I guess. In some cases, you know.
Yes, for sure.
And familiarity breeds contempt and all that stuff.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Any advice to the young people out there falling in love, getting their hearts broken?
As far as that goes, I have absolutely nothing to offer anybody, because I know nothing about those kind of things. I'm a complete disaster on that side of relationships for sure.
So you're not a hopeless romantic?
Not really. I'm lucky that my wife's been with me for this long.
What do you think she sees in you?
I think she's just resigned to the fact that she's stuck with me forever. No, I'm just kidding. She's great. She's my best friend, and, you know, we've got our kids in our house, and we have an awesome life right now, and we're very happy with it, for sure.
That sounds really cool.
And it took till I was in my mid-40s to do it.
Hard-headed, stubborn, or just timing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right place, right time. Yeah.
Some friends of mine from Syracuse who are now at a band called Elephant Mountain. Mm-hmm. Formerly, the singer and the guitarist were in a band called Brand New Sin.
Yes.
Who supported you guys on tour.
Yes, they did.
Do you have any recollection at all of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember them being super cool guys, super nice guys. It was very Black Label Society. That's what it reminded me of, Black Label Society. That was my main impression of them. Very nice guys, reminded me of Black Label Society.
So the story that I got from the singer Joe is that they were on tour with you guys, and I guess your ways of getting down, your styles of getting down were so like polar opposite. So they were beer drinking all day long, woohoo, hangover style, going nuts all day long on the brew, and big muscles, tattoos, all this vests, the whole Black Label Society deal. And you guys apparently, I'll never forget how he depicted you guys. You were all these like calm, quiet stoner types with your earbuds in on your laptops.
I think it was way before the days of laptops, though, when we toured with Black Label Society. I mean, Brand New Sin. Yeah, I think that's probably a good description of how they viewed us, though. A lot of bands are confused by us. Like, when we toured with Pantera, for example, they had no idea that we weren't going to be dumping whiskey and beer down our faces on a 24/7 basis and then going out there and attempting to play shows. I'd rather feel good when I'm on stage and when I wake up in the morning than feel terrible. But I've done my fair share of drinking on tour, so I can't say anything about not drinking.
Yeah, you should identify with that lifestyle necessarily.
Yeah, I definitely do not identify with the live fast, die young rock and roll lifestyle that's out there with some bands. Most bands aren't like that, but some bands really do that thing. They try to anyway, and then it just ends up in chaos,
Sure. As it kind of did for Brand New Sin.
I'm not sure what happened with those guys, but
A little too much drinking.
yeah.
So it'll happen,
Yeah, I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks of drinking whiskey on a nightly basis is going to end in at least one fight. At least one fight. And if it doesn't, that's a miracle.
That's a pretty good calculation.
Yeah.
Sites, books, places where you get information. Where do you like getting information?
At this point, I'm pretty much strictly music blogs. I get all my information off blabbermouth.net and Brooklyn Vegan, which is just a New York-based music blog. And quite honestly, I've stopped. At the beginning of last year, I kind of made a conscious effort to stop paying attention to politics, and I kind of feel like I liberated myself of thinking about politics or, ingesting the propaganda that's fed to us through TV constantly. So if I'm ever, feeling like I need to look at the news or check out some political stuff, I'll just go, check out what's up with High on Fire, see what they're doing right now, or something like that. I just try to stick with music stuff these days. But I did used to get into all that kind of political stuff and whatever, and then I just realized, I'm just a stupid guitar player. I'm lucky enough to even play one of our songs correctly. So I'll just stick with music.
That's inspiring. That kind of marks, my rebirth as well with this.
Cool.
A little bit easy. But cooled down to the politics. I got burnt out on that myself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot about conspiracies and this and that, So I really do prefer to focus on the music and, general life topics.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much things we can't change. More things we can change, like things within our community.
Exactly.
So, thanks for your reflections on that, and I do appreciate the interview.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a very unique style interview, and it was awesome. Glad to do it.
Thanks again for your time, bro.
Cool. Thanks a lot.